Good morning, everybody. This is Lisa Fritz with BCC Distribution. I'm going to give about 1 more minute to get a couple more people we're waiting on to join, but we will begin here very, very shortly. Hold on just a minute. Okay, good morning. We're going to go ahead and get the presentation started. So first of all, thank you for joining BCC Distribution and Zebra Technologies this morning. And I think some of you had joined us last week, so thank you for coming again. Today's webinar is going to be on Zebra's security and Android and touch on how they handle security for the enterprise market and what they do with their RF Android terminals that gives Zebra equipment the advantage over others and how we handle different pieces there. But before I pass the controls over to Eric Hilton, I'm going to have John Newman say just a quick hello to everybody and just a little quick refresher on BCC. John?
Well, thank you, Lisa. I won't cough in your face.
Thank you, John.
You're very, very welcome. Well, I think we have about 150 people signed up for this WebEx, and we've got a good solid 2, I think. So I don't think that this virus has anything to do with participation. I think we need to remind everybody that you can't catch it via WebEx.
Yeah. I should put that on the next invite. That's my bad.
I think so. Yeah. But hey, thanks everybody for joining. We actually had more than a couple of people. We'll get right into the good stuff. We are so lucky, as always, to be as large in the partner structure as we possibly can with Zebra, and because of that, they always love to help us when we need the assistance. And it's great to have the experts that can review the Zebra roadmap as we did last week, and now we're going to be actually a little bit more focused and talk about Android and how Android is replacing a lot of the other operating systems on the handhelds that we've used over the last 25 years. But real quickly, just to get everyone caught up with who BCC is, for any entity that's on the call right now, besides the Zebra equipment, and we're talking about the barcode printers, we're talking about RF scanners, all the accessories, the media, all that good stuff. We also do everything else that we need to be able to deliver a turnkey complete system. And that specifically is the software and the services. So all the software that is needed to have the scanners and the printers grab data from your database, from your ERP software, like an SAP. We have written all those software transactions to be able to do all the scanning, all the validation, and all the printing from all your warehouse and inventory modules and transactions. And then we also have the wonderful services to complement the software and the equipment. So for companies that want to be taught how to use the scanners, how to stage the scanners, how to set up the printers, how to change the different fonts of the labels of the printers, we have all those solutions as well as services, and then that leads us right into support. And we sell all of the direct Zebra support and maintenance, as well as we have our own BCC first line of support so that we can answer any questions and potentially solve issues before we have to get the equipment to depot. So that's a little bit on BCC. I thank everybody as always to participate, and it's time for the sales guy to be quiet and get the smart people talking.
So Eric, I am going to pass over the controls to you.
All right.
Let me know if that works or doesn't.
Nothing yet.
Okay, let me try that again.
Okay.
Okay, it says I've given it to you. Now let me try that again. Is that moving? Okay. Did that pop up for you yet, Eric?
No, it's not giving me the option to share, unfortunately.
Let me try this method.
There we go.
Right.
All right, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
so let's share that. Let's get that set. You're probably seeing the wrong screen though. Display. All right, how's that? Better?
Looking good.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Lisa. Thank you, John. I appreciate the invite here. I always love being able to get out and help our partner community, also help educate our sales teams and our partner teams, and help our customers be more knowledgeable as we move into whatever facet of Zebra's portfolio we're talking about. As a quick introduction, my name is Eric Hilton. I'm a regional portfolio manager for Zebra, and that means I get to sit in a strategy role focusing on Zebra's mobile computing strategy, both our current devices and the future devices that we come out with to make them better, faster, stronger, lighter, whatever the case may be, to meet all of our customers' needs. So any voice of customer, make sure you're funneling it back through BCC and make sure you're funneling it through any Zebra account managers or sales engineers that you have in your contact list. Make sure they get it back to me, and I am happy to take as much feedback as I can to make our devices meet your needs better in the future. So today specifically, we're going to talk about OS security, and we're going to talk about our mobility DNA and our device lifecycle. So the world has shifted a little bit, not just in the last couple months. I know the world has shifted significantly in the last couple months, but in general, specifically around OS, we've noticed, and we're riding the roller coaster of shifting from what we used for 25 years, which was Windows CE, Windows embedded handheld. These operating systems were designed around small screen devices, even before all of us had a small screen device in our hands and in our pockets every single day. Now, the proliferation of all of those devices going into everybody's hands has really done a couple of things. One, it means that there is significant investment, significant advancement, and significant changes that happen quickly in the marketplace. So all of that investment goes in, and the next generation comes out, and before it even comes out, they're already talking about a future generation, and they're already talking about future enhancements that need to be taken advantage of. Now, the other piece of that is, as we rely on it more, our security has to take a step up, because others, we rely on it with business applications. Some of it could be critical data like HIPAA information. Some of it could be financial information, credit cards, things like that. So it becomes a bigger target. And as it becomes a bigger target, we're also having to evolve very quickly, because operating systems, like I mentioned, are changing and are rapidly developing. So security has become a significant topic of discussion that we continue to have. And really, it's a matter of we're not talking about a consumer device where we're all using Facebook and we're all using to check our emails and shop online or shop on Amazon or anything like that. This is business critical information that's typically very secure and has to remain very secure. So with that, it becomes a target for some of those cyber attacks, and we have to really make sure that we lock those devices down. And Zebra's kind of taken an approach that I think resonates well, and we'll talk a little bit about the extra steps we've taken on top of what we consider standard Android that really help us make sure all of those are locked down and remain secure moving forward. So going back specifically around Windows Embedded Handheld and Windows CE, you can see the end of life dates here shown on the screen. Ultimately, about 6 or 7 years ago, we started to see the writing on the wall that we weren't talking about a Windows CE 8, and we weren't talking about a Windows Embedded Handheld 7. We stay pretty close with Microsoft and with Android, or with Google, and with all the OS manufacturers. We try to stay as close as we can, but we started to notice that the feature sets really weren't coming out, and their roadmap started to get shorter and shorter. So we started to hedge our bets, and we started in about 09 developing on Android to make sure that we had a long-term sustainable operating system for all of our mobile computers. And so, and it's a good thing we did, because ultimately what Microsoft ended up doing was end of lifing and end of supporting their devices, their OS for these devices. So Embedded Handheld 653 went end of support in January of this year, which means if there's an issue or there's a security patch required or whatever the case may be, Microsoft gets to stop answering that phone. Now, we still sell these devices, we still offer them, they're still available. We're not going to pull the plug on them right away. We know there are a number of customers that have thick apps installed on these devices and written specifically for these OSs. We're not going to pull the plug. But I would say that there is a security risk associated with embedded handheld right now, because ultimately, if you remember in 2018 and 2017, I believe, there were some Wi-Fi vulnerabilities that were unearthed that were called Crack, Inspector, and Meltdown. Now, at that time, Microsoft was still writing patches, security patches for all their devices. So we were able to release a patch for those devices that needed, that were running Windows Embedded Handheld. If that happens today, and it's the fix is in the core OS structure, and we don't have access to that code, ultimately there could be a vulnerability. So we've suggested that we shift to an Android OS, and ultimately the reason why we selected Android is we do everything we can with every operating system, and the amount of information and the amount of development and customization that we can build on top of Android is significant compared to any other option out there. So what we found is through that development from 2009 is when our development started. We actually started shipping in 2010. We've shipped over 5.3 million Android devices. That's a lot of lessons learned. That's a lot of development that we've been able to take. That's a lot of additional features that we've been able to release on top of standard Android to make it more applicable for our customers and the enterprise. Because standard Android, for example, this is just one example of many, but when you open up, if you go buy a new consumer phone, you turn it on and you open it up, the very first thing it's going to do is ask you for a Gmail account. It's going to ask you to set up this device for you specifically. The issue with that is a lot of our customers use our mobile computers in a multi-user, multi-shift environment where they don't want it linked to a Gmail account. They don't need Google Maps and Google Play Store and all these extra pieces installed on that device. So what we started doing is coming out with 2 generations of the OS, 2 versions. One which was called AOSP, which was a stripped down core Android with none of the Google mobile services, Google features installed on it. And separately, we came out with the GMS version for those customers that really needed it. And that was in and of itself, that was a security mechanism, because ultimately, without the Play Store, without all these extraneous apps getting installed on devices, we know that all the apps are secure. We know they're locked down. We know that we have significantly more control over those apps. Now, in future generations of Android, we've actually worked with Google. We have regular cadence meetings with Google, and we sit down with them to talk about what the next generations of Android are. And one of the things that came out with that was what's called Android for Work, or Android in the Enterprise. And that allows some of that to step outside of their historical, you get Google mobile services, therefore you get Gmail and Google Maps and Google Play Store, or you get none of it. Now you can actually pick and choose which ones you want. So maybe I just want the Play Store. Maybe I want some more options there. and I want Google Maps because I'm a route delivery driver who needs directions, but I still don't want Gmail. So now you can pick and choose, and that's really one of those continuations and development that has come out of Google and Zebra's relationship of ongoing discussions. Now, what we are seeing here, we are seeing a significant transition to Android. You can see here in retail, we've seen 96.6% adoption of Android. Field mobility, 93.3%. The warehouse is a bit of a lag. We're seeing only about 54% migration from legacy OS systems to Android, but that has really picked up speed in the last couple of years. So we think this year might be a transition point where a lot of those legacy OS devices, and devices running those legacy OSs really shift. So specifically around security, I want to circle back to that. Specifically, the other thing we do with security is we focus on additional security patches after Google stops supporting an OS. So this year, a Google version will be released. Google will support it for 3 years, and then they stop supporting it. And because by then, 2 more generations of OS have already come out. They're on about an 18-month cycle of new generations of Android. Now, we all can't shift that quickly. The enterprise just doesn't move that quickly to next generations of OSs. Now, the benefit though of a Zebra device is with our life cycle, we guarantee that we will sell our devices for a certain period of time. We guarantee we'll fix them for a certain period of time after that. And the big benefit associated with that, I'm going to skip ahead to a slide here. The big benefit associated with that is that even after Google stops supporting an OS, we will pick up security patches for the entire life cycle of that device. So for our premium tier devices like the MC93, the TC8300, the L10 Android, those are 5 and 5 devices. That means that we will offer them for 5 years, sell them for 5 years, and then we will also fix them for 5 years after we stop selling them. Now, that entire 10-year life cycle, we guarantee that we are going to continue offering security patches for that entire length of that life cycle. And we typically will release at least 2 generations of Android beyond what we release it with. So if we release a device on Android O, Oreo, we know we can take it to at least Android 10. We're pretty confident we'll be able to take it to Android 11, possibly even 12. So we are taking things as far as we can, offering new generations of OSs, and furthermore, continuing to pick up security patches in the native Android code even after Google stops supporting that Android. Now, additionally, on top of security, on top of that lifeguard, Zebra has released what we call our Mobility DNA suite. And what Mobility DNA is all the adders and all the additional development that we've done on top of standard Android to make our devices more easily managed, more easily developed on, additional communication tools so that our associates carrying our devices can be more productive, or so that our devices can be more easily managed from an update perspective. For example, of proactively sending updates out to our devices so that they can automatically be installed, or for some customers that don't want to install updates on a regular monthly cadence like we offer, every update that we offer is optional. So it's never required that you take an update. It's always optional. You always have a choice. And there's always a very detailed README file that's associated with every update and gives you the ability to say, I know what I need, I know what's in this update. I don't have any of those issues, so I'm going to skip it and I'm going to wait till next month when another update comes out. So you really have that opportunity to wait or to take every single update that comes down the line. So Zebra Mobility DNA is 18 value-added tools, 14 of which are free, and 11 of which come preloaded, pre-installed on the device when you turn it on. So we're going to talk about a couple of them real quick. So specifically around Stage Now. When I open a new device, I could either go into settings and find my Wi-Fi networks because I need to connect it to the internet, or I need to connect it so that I can start provisioning it. Go into settings, find my network, find my, type in my code to my network password so that I can log in, and then control all the settings around what frequencies and what channels I want to use on my Wi-Fi network. Or using Stage Now, I can build all of that into a barcode, scan that barcode, and it automatically pulls all those settings in. So I don't have to touch every single device and type in codes left, for days or hours to provision a number of devices. So what we typically see is our largest customers will use Stage Now to connect the device to Wi-Fi and connect it into their EMM or MDM tool like SOTI, AirWatch, or Avalanche. And once it's in there, now they have complete control of it. So that gives them the ability to quickly scan one barcode. Now it's connected, now it's running, and now I can manage it. An additional tool is what we call Enterprise Home Screen, which specifically, since we're talking about security, Enterprise Home Screen will lock down that device so that the associate only has access to the apps that we've set for them. So if they're using all touch terminal emulation to access the green screen, and all they need is that all touch app, that's the only thing that they have access to until someone comes and unlocks it via an admin password. So that really gives one extra layer of security, and that's really what security is all about, is building up as many layers as possible so that if there ever is a vulnerability in, let's say, Wi-Fi, or there's a vulnerability in an application, ultimately what Android is really designed around from a security perspective is as many silos as possible and as many layers as possible, so that if there's one vulnerability in one small piece, it doesn't proliferate to the entire device, and it doesn't have access to the entire device. That's why if you're ever using an Android device and it asks you if you want this app to have permissions to utilize your camera, or to utilize your photos, or to have access to your contacts, that is one of those security layers saying, something's asking to use your contacts here, or something's asking to use your pictures. Are you okay with this? And you get to say yes or no. So that's really an additional layer, circling back to Enterprise Home Screen. An additional layer there is locking that device down so that the operator doesn't have access to all of the apps on the device. Moving in. So why does all of this stuff matter? Why did we invest a significant amount of time, significant amount of R&D, and significant amount of effort in our mobility DNA suite? And essentially, the biggest issues that we've had reported are loss of connectivity of a device, software application issues, battery failures and device losses, security and access control, which is the main point of what we're talking about today, and then operating system issues. And those are the 5 main issues that we see through a lot of our research, utilizing some of our partners that go out and poll a number of customers. Now, security plays a big role in that, especially here in the bottom 2. Now, all of our mobility DNA suite, so what you can see here is specifically relating to security and access control. We have EMMs, those MDM tools that we talked about. That's one of our MDNA features, working with those MDMs to make sure that they have access to our device and that they can more easily control our device. MX, which is an additional layer of security that we've talked about. And then Enterprise Home Screen gives the ability, like I mentioned, to lock down that device. So these 3 apps specifically target that security and access control issue. So when we dive into these questions, and when we dive into why does it matter, what's important, this is really the net of relating our mobility DNA suite to specific issues that we have seen in our customers' environments. We're going to talk a little bit about one or two of these, and then for the sake of time, we'll move into some questions here. But specifically, Device Tracker, I want to talk about this application because it's a really important application. This is a free tool that's installed on our newest generation of devices. And essentially what it does is the device can constantly, on a regular cadence, every 5 minutes, I believe, reports up to a server its current battery health, its connection to the Wi-Fi, and what access point it's connected to. Now, you may say, okay, well, but that doesn't provide me location. Correct. But if I lose this device, I at least know when I last saw it, I know what the battery health was, and I know a general idea of about where it is. You know, if I'm in a warehouse and I'm connected to AP6, you know, I can get close to AP6 and I can start from there. The other big benefit associated with this is it allows you to walk out with another Zebra device, and you can see down here in the bottom right corner what you see on the Zebra device that you're holding in your hand. You're saying, I can't find my device, I've lost it, okay? I'm about 32 feet away from it, and it utilizes Bluetooth technology for the two of them to communicate, and you get to play hot and cold with it for a second. I'm 32 feet away, I take a few steps, now I'm 36 feet away. Okay, I went the wrong direction. Now I can go back and I can hone in on exactly where that device is if I've lost it, and I can recover it more quickly. Now, if I get all the way up to it and it says I'm 2 or 3 feet away from it and I still can't find it, then you have the ability to press this play sound button, and you can make the lost device throw up an alarm and say, here I am, come find me. And that's an additional one more layer on top of keep ensuring that all of the data that may be on that device or that device connects to remains in your physical possession. That way you don't lose it and someone then goes and is able to hack that device or try to break into it or anything like that. So this gives you the ability to recover that lost device and recover all the information and retain all the information that may be installed on that device. We're going to move through. I talked briefly about Lifeguard over the air. So Lifeguard over the air gives the ability to send these patches and send these security updates via over the air via an automated cycle, an automated system. So you can schedule updates. You can determine when you want to run those updates, which updates to run. It really gives you complete control over that, managing that update process on the device. We talked about a little bit about Stage Now. Stage Now is the ability to scan a barcode or, as you can see here, using USB, build a package that automatically stages that device. It automatically connects it to Wi-Fi. You can copy and install applications on it. If you're using all-touch terminal emulation, you can transfer over a profile so that that device reboots and it's ready to go. You don't have to then run an individual setup or work through a checklist to provision all of these devices. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is GMS restricted mode. And we talked a little bit about it earlier, but essentially what GMS restricted mode is it allows us to turn off that Google Play Store, Gmail, all the things that come pre-installed with a Google device. So an Android device, typically you get, like I said, Google, this search bar, you get Chrome, you get YouTube on it because that's owned by Google. You also get Google Drive and you get the Play Store. Now, through simple toggles or through one Stage Now barcode, you can scan this and say no GMS, and it will automatically remove anything that is Google Mobile Services, anything that is an Android application. So you can see the difference after that scanning that barcode. All of those things are gone, and now we're just left with our business critical applications. And that's all I had prepared. Lisa, do we have any questions that I can help answer?
Yep, we sure do.
Great.
So my first question is, does Zebra have an end of sales date for the Windows embedded handheld 6.5 devices, and how long will Zebra service/support?
So that depends on the device. Some of our embedded handheld and CE devices have been end-of-lifed. Others, like the MC92, the WT41N0, the VC70, just to name a few, those are still readily available. We still have parts. We're still making and selling those devices, and we'll still continue for some form of the foreseeable future. We typically get at least a 6-month runway before we're going to completely end of life a device. So I can say that we're good for at least the next 6 months. And we haven't announced anything on those devices. I think there will be announcements sooner rather than later. Probably in the next 6 months to a year, we'll see those announcements come out, and then end of sale would be about 6 months after that. So no current plans, and we do get plenty of runway in terms of that end of life notification.
And Lisa,
Okay.
this is Rick. I'm just going to add a little bit of color to the commentary here. We'll, as Eric said, we'll do get some run up, and we'll have an end of sale announcement on the devices that are still for sale. And then we generally, depending upon the product itself, have anywhere from 3 to 5 year service support available after the end of sale. So if you are buying like a premium tier vehicle mount, or something that's usually falls within our 5-year sale and 5-year support life cycle category, we're going to service that as long as parts are available, so on. But we've planned for it. We're going to provide service for those for 5 years after we end of sale. So it's not like the devices are just going to evaporate once we announce, or the ability to utilize them is going to evaporate. What we'll run into problems with is that if there's some attack that comes that's at the core of like the Windows embedded handheld operating system, we will no longer have the ability to get Microsoft to answer the phone to try to solve that problem.
Okay, great. Thanks for the elaboration, Rick. Appreciate it. Another question we have is, do you have to be on maintenance to be able to update the Android on a terminal?
So yes, ultimately, maintenance contracts are required. There are different levels of maintenance contracts. So I have a number of customers that don't put their devices under break fix and comprehensive coverage maintenance. We do offer a phone technical support and update only. So that allows you to, 1, call tech support when you have an issue, and 2, get security patches for those devices for the extended period of time. No matter what, every device that you purchase comes with, I believe it's a 90-day time period after receiving that device. You're allowed security patches and you're allowed tech support for that short-term period. And then from the extended period beyond that, like I mentioned, there's multiple levels of service. One of which is I just want to get the updates.
Okay, and this question is actually for me. Do they need to, when they get their new Android terminals, is there a spot or website they need to go to sign up to get these monthly alerts about any like Android patches or upgrades?
Yeah, so on zebra.com, there's a link called Support and Downloads. So on that Support and Downloads site, that's where, 1, all of the devices are listed, all of the security patches are listed for every device that we're still supporting. So even that 5-year life cycle that Rick mentioned, where we're going to be supporting these devices 5 years after we sell them, we'll still list any device that we're still supporting, and the OS versions and all of the OS patches. And in there is an option to say, I want to get updates every time you post something for just this device, or every time you post an update for any device. I wouldn't recommend that one because there's a lot of updates that get put on there. That's what I'm signed up for, and trust me, there are a lot of emails that come out saying there are updates posted. But ultimately, for any devices that are in your environment, you can sign up and say, I want to know anytime an update gets posted, and it will lead you right back to that site and the new update, along with what was updated, with very clear delineation of what patches were applied during that update.
Great. Then we have 2 more questions. What is the latest version of Android that Zebra is supporting, or the newest chipset, what does that go up to?
Yeah, so our current chipset, and we platformed on our chipset. So this is a chipset from Qualcomm. Qualcomm makes the chipset that we're utilizing right now. That's for any of the gearheads out there like me, it's the Qualcomm Snapdragon SD660. So ultimately, what OS that will support is a negotiation between Qualcomm and Google. But we know that Qualcomm will support that chipset up through Android 11. So they stopped changing, and this is a nomenclature thing, but Google stopped calling them dessert flavors, for anybody that isn't aware of that. So after Oreo, it switches to Pi, and then it goes into 10 and 11. So instead of Q and R. So essentially, right now, we are supporting Android O Oreo on that Snapdragon SD660. We are actually moving straight to Android 10, what would be Q. And the reason is we get a lot of benefits out of Android Q, and we saw an opportunity to accelerate as fast as we could. So we will actually be releasing Android 10 on all of our mobile computers here on all of that SD660 platform, our latest generation of devices. Here in the next, it's a phased rollout, but it starts in June and then continues through, I think, Q3 and maybe even into October, depending on the device model. We know, so current Android O. This year we'll release Android 10, which would have been Q. We know we will take it to Android 11, which would have been Android R. We are still waiting on official commitment from Qualcomm and Google that they will be supporting Android 12 on that chipset. We think we're going to get it, but until they officially commit to it, we can't commit to it. And no one can. Nobody that uses that chipset can officially commit to Android 12.
Okay, great. And our last question is, does the green screen Telnet come standard with Android?
It depends on the device is the answer to that. So typically, any of our historic warehouse-centric devices, so the MC series, the vehicle-mounted computers that run Android, or the WT6000 wearable computers, yes, all of those pre-installed, pre-licensed, ready to go. Any of our legacy our devices that are non-warehouse related, so like TC52 or the TC72, some of those devices that are typically more in a retail environment, less in a warehouse, we don't pre-license on those devices. We don't want to burden the cost of to our customers that aren't going to use that app.
Okay, perfect. So that was our last question, and I didn't mention this in the beginning, but this webinar has been recorded, and BCC Distribution will end up posting this on our YouTube site sometime in the next week. And so for anybody that attended, you can go on there and share it with your team, and I'll also be forwarding it to anyone that's missed today. But we appreciate your time, Eric and Rick. Thank you so much, and I appreciate everybody attending today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great day. Stay safe.